interplexin inceliği, tasarım değeri, malzemenin 1'e 3 metre boyutundaki büyük oluşu hep bizi etkileyen özelliklerdi zaten.
Kales interplex'i kullanmamızın çeşitli sebepleri var. Büyük boyutta olmasına rağmen malzemenin kalınlığının çok ince şekilde bitmesi.
Our work is to translate the innovation of design, color and texture in the possibility to do this in industrial way. So Kale design and is a Kale design is unique.
Çok uzun bir ilişkimiz var Kale ile. 20 sene diyebilirim. Tam yani diyebilirim şu anda ne ihtiyacımız var? Kale'de kesinlikle her zaman bulabiliriz.
Yes. Hi, welcome. I would like to make a Turkish announcement. İngilizce yapacağız söyleşimizi, sunumlarımızı. Eğer İngilizce bilmeyen izleyicilerimiz varsa headsetlerden faydalanabilirler. Türkçe tercüme anında olacaktır. Welcome to our The Limits of Urban Growth and Transformation in Turkey panel. We are going to discuss this subject, but before starting, I would like to say that how sorry we are about the latest bombing in Ankara. Turkey is a very tension days. We are living in a very tension days. It's not easy to talk about these kind of subjects, even in Turkey. But the life goes, so we can maybe start with the topic of our panel. I think in the last few years, Turkey has been dealing a rapid population which are moving from villages to cities, and our cities becomes larger and larger. And most of the leading city, Istanbul, is nearly turned to half of the population. Now it's around 50 million people is living in Istanbul, and lots of new needs in Istanbul about this immigration. And last 10 years, maybe, we have a history of mega projects. And what are the mega projects? They might be some residential projects, or it might be maybe you have already seen at the Istanbul tent the mega airport, or the mega judicial government buildings. And we have a new opposition in Turkey these days, in last few years, that we have a new concept in this mega project. So today we are trying to discuss about what's the mega projects mean in Turkey and how we deal with it, with the architecture side, with the academic side, also with the governmental side, and we try to understand this topic, what it means for Turkey. Last 15 minutes, I would like to take some questions from the audience, but let's start with Mr. Abdi. Abdi Güzer is Professor Abdi Güzer is a member of ODTÜ, one of the latest architectural academy and university in Turkey. Yes, Abdi, what do you understand when we talk about the mega projects?
Okay, thank you very much. Actually, it is good to be here with you. For the last 3 years, we are trying to discuss, especially in urban scale, architecture of Turkey with respect to international global developments. And this issue of being mega, being big, longer, higher, most, and these are concepts that we like, inevitably. We want to make bigger, we want to make longer, higher, wider, whatever it is. So this seems to create a value of its own, independent from its architectural value. I don't know whether it is really correct or not, but it is a case for most of the non-critical cultures and popular cultures. So among maybe the professionals, even or at least within the academic chambers, they don't have the same meaning, and it can be understood in many different ways. So, I mean, it is a cultural issue that the bigger, the higher, longer always takes the interest. And it is, on the other hand, inevitable in the sense that there is a population pressure, urbanization, etc. So within these circumstances, we have to build, unfortunately, we have to build more and more each time. So we come into a kind of a enormous environmental medium. So the population is the basic reason for this construction necessity. And we are not happy within our boundaries or places. So we continuously move because of the war, because of the poorness, because of the hunger, because of political reasons, because of social reasons, ethnic reasons. For many reasons, we are continuously moving. So this new world is a migrating, maybe, world. We confronted with this migration problem for the last few years because of the Middle East crisis. But however, I mean, it's an ongoing issue which has been started with the Industrial Revolution. So from, first of all, rural areas to the urban, to the cities, people moved and established their production plants. And then, of course, they need workers. They moved from Europe to United States, from rural areas to cities, and it has been happening since the last couple of 100 centuries. It's not a new act. So there became an enormous building activity, as you see. Then architects try to handle this with new methodologies, with new approaches, how to handle with this accelerated increase of population and new demand for the settlement. So there were, as you all know, lots of trials for making cities bigger, larger, and enable them to house bigger buildings, you know, within the history of architectural planning. This is from, as you know, Le Corbusier, Paris. And I mean, if he had an opportunity, instead of Paris, he was going to put this as a new plan, as a new city, as a new understanding. And all the equations were based upon how this production and industry will come together with the commodification and commodity. This is the inevitable equation of the problem. So there are bigger and larger examples. This is from Japan, as you know, metabolists trying to invent cities growing like a tree. I mean, unfinished, which has a potential to add new items to the buildings, and it will grow forever. And then Archigram, as you know, from England, they talked about plug-in cities, walking city, etc. And then industrial societies concentrated on this mode of production. And there are two stages actually in design. One of them is, as explained by Rainer Van Ham, the first machine age, and the second one from Martin Poldi, who's actually a student of Rainer Van Ham, and he discussed the second age as more flexible accumulation of good and a postmodern condition in design and architecture. Where, I mean, lots of buildings have been replaced by new blocks, more international, and having less interaction with the local issues, having a global language which can be established everywhere as a kind of a magic formula, as you can see. So the densities have been increased, You can see now China, for example, and then the units shrink. I mean, while the buildings are becoming bigger, the units, the human conditions within the buildings are always shrinking. And of course, the end result is inevitable: pollution, traffic jam, and the lack of climate and everything. So we end up with a growth like this, enormous size of buildings. That's what is happening now in Turkey, actually. You can easily see on the right button the difference of scale between the traditional housing pattern and the new blocks coming. I mean, they are coming inevitably, but you can see the size and the scale difference between these two. And of course, they are rising up to the air. So we are trying to do as much as possible. And we are getting into an inevitable competition as if it is something good, or we are trying to sell it as a success story, even though it's not true. On the other hand, there's an issue of quality, which is very important. The Apple's new administration building is the price or the cost of the building for 1 square meter is nearly equal to 100 square meters of Toki housing. So there is a problem of balance, and there is a big gap between the quality-wise production all around the world, which has to be considered in many ways. So now we are confronting duality of cities. On one hand, we have the modern high-rise density buildings, and on the other hand, we have the traditional building pattern. And people are continuously moving. So Istanbul is responsible not only for the problems she houses, but for the rest of the Turkey at the same time. And the other issue related to this is the income distribution, of course. So now we are coming into an integrated stage of blurring distances between the urban life and the rural life, inevitably. Urbanity invading rural issues, and we are trying to tackle with these. Most of the mega projects developed in Turkey are aiming to tackle with these issues. For example, I think this is a very important project, trying to transfer all the densities and the industry to other regions than Istanbul. This is the highway, the new bridge. In a similar way, there are some brainstorming projects. And finally, the third airport. We can discuss all these projects, whether, I mean, they are good or bad. But independent from that, I mean, we are in a case of discussing these, and we are in a case of thinking about these. And most important, that a duality of qualities within the cities. And I think the biggest now issue in Turkey is the urban transformation. The old stock, which is so-called, in quotations, unhealthy, is trying to replaced by healthy stock, which is more dense, high-rise, and more modern, comparingly. But I mean, what we obtain is inevitably something like that. So the urban fabric confronts a kind of an eclectic togetherness of all these projects in every scale, in every medium, and it's a mixture of buildings which are not controlled, actually, and appearing accidentally in everywhere all around the city. So, I mean, this transformation is ongoing within different regions, but mostly they are in building scales, which, I mean, is a lack of opportunity. We are missing an opportunity to obtain a more healthy scale, I think. And so they're escaping from the city, trying to create new mediums of life. And we are creating placelessness, sense of placelessness within every city, similar to each other, freed from context, freed from topography, climate, orientation, and culture. So this is Bursa, as you know, the famous
New Bursa.
example. Yeah, old and new Bursa together, actually. And this is Istanbul, as you know. And the new buildings are coming to the city. Yes, yes, this is it. This is the reality, inevitably. And then the split, the city is changing. It's transforming into a new scale, which has to be discussed, of course. I don't know. Maybe these are the all grounds that we can move on discussing.
Okay.
I think it's
As we understand from your presentation, we can easily say that you are not very familiar with these mega projects, and you are not looking very positive, at least using with this mega project concept or the.
Actually, sorry, I have one more slide.
This one?
No. Yeah, this is a mega project that we are producing now. It's for Erzurum. This is a museum which is 450 meters long. It's a tunnel of history. But it is for the sake of culture and other issues. I'm trying to say it's not a matter of being high, big, dense, but what are you doing and for the sake of what? And at the end, how does it affect the environment? So, I mean, we don't have secret solutions and we don't have secret formulas. Every project should be criticized and evaluated with reference to its context, with its reference to its problematic privileges. That's very important.
Okay, thank you very much. And Enis Öncüoğlu architecture is operating different countries, including Russia, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and Turkey. Of course, after Turkey army fired one of the Russian warplane, no more business, I think, for lots of businessmen in Turkey, including architects or different businesses. Let's say it's more hard to work in Russia, that region. What I'm curious about is, are we using these mega projects in Turkey only? Because when we look at the using of mega projects terms, we see two different ways. One of them is commercial. They are selling the buildings, residential projects, describing like this is the biggest, this is the largest, this is the whatever, highest, or is it very common like Russia, because we have lots of ties with Russia, even the politicians and the buildings, I think. What do you think?
First of all, I'd like to thank for Kale and Alkash for this organization. It's a good chance for us, for Turkish architects, to share our thoughts related with that matter. Starting with Russia, yes, it affects us so much, and we have so many similarities. That's the biggest challenge. We were challenging in Turkish politics, now we have to challenge with the Russian politics in terms of doing our core business, which is architecture, which is not related with any politics actually. In any case, as you said, mega projects, it's a product of globalization. And capitalism, once I read, likes you being single and gay. Capitalism also likes your cities full of mega projects. Because mega projects need special funding, special finance, special organizations, more specific characters of the people involved in it, so it became a natural filter for global players to be active on that business. There are very few Turkish architects can able to achieve to be involved in these mega projects worldwide. I'm not talking in Turkey, because somehow Turkish architects are isolated from the process of selection, being an architect of a big project in governmental investment. But in all over the world, there is certain ways to achieve a big project, and when you are achieving that big project, the main players, the mainstream architects and mainstream industries are coming with their own specifications, organization patterns, and so on. I am representing a company which is more than 50 years old. I am a second generation architect. And I remember when I was graduated from 1990s, the biggest project that our office was dealing about 20,000 square meters. So it's a big I mean, 20,000 square meters is, I can give you an example. We were making a big housing complex in Istanbul, Nurol Park. There is a small change in the Istanbul building codes, 20,000 square meter add during construction because of the building code change. I mean, you have to add that value to the building. It's a big challenge. And what I see, all these mega projects are, the end product is always a compromise. And on this compromise, there is no urban benefit or public wealth taken care of carefully. Can I see my slides also? Yeah, sorry. As I told you, we have several offices and operating these projects worldwide with my partners. We have, now we are making, for example, still we are making a project in Russia. It's a hotel in Gelincik. It's on the coast of Black Sea. The Metropolis shopping center very close to be opened very soon. The developers is Capital Partners, which they sold this mega project to a mega owner, which is Morgan Stanley. So as you see, the money, as they couldn't able to earn money from money as before, there is only one way of speculation left. It's to develop real estate projects. And that's why it is popular to make a mega project, because in a mega project, nobody can able to make any estimation on the cost, or nobody can able to make control of the end product also. At the end, when it is finished, everybody has to accept it. It is not only in Turkey, it is also in New York, it is also during Olympics, like in Sochi. The cost of Sochi Olympics to Russian government is twice than they put budget in. And the end product, nobody can able to control the cost and the quality, because the organization is not made to overcome that much of square meters.
But isn't it unbelievable? Is it, you are making a building and you don't know the cost of it, and when you finish it, you see the double price.
It is maybe 10 times. Look at Herzog Dömeron's opera house in Hamburg. Look at Calatrava's transportation hub in New York. Nobody knows the real price of Istanbul third airport now, because there is no a normal way of design process is going on. In normal means, even you make a mega or normal project, you make the project first, then you go to tender, and so on and so forth. But in that kind of projects, the project goes parallel to the construction.
Nobody has time.
Nobody has time, and nobody make a real estimation. And what I afraid, as there is a time constraint over the project, the time constraint covers everything. And when it is opened, as at least it is opened, and at least all the expenditures has been done, nobody cares about the quality.
But there are some discussions in Germany about this Herzog Opera House, I know.
Yes.
Maybe the differences with some other countries, some of the countries, I don't want to mention Turkey, but we don't even time to discuss the price of the end of the price of the buildings, these mega projects.
Yes, this is the problem, and for example, among us also, I can give it from my experience. Till now, the biggest projects that we have been involved in, around 400,000 square meters, which is for me, it's a huge scale to deal with as an architect. But the duration of that project and the fees which is allowed for the architects for that big projects is not enough to make it a good one, really. And at the end of the day, nobody criticizes anybody because everybody has a fault in it being involved in that process.
Okay. Are you going to add something?
No, I mean, maybe on the second round.
Murat Tabanlıoğlu. Tabanlıoğlu Architecture is one of the most famous office in Turkey, and I know that you are entering some different mega projects. And at some point, I know that you are leaving some of the projects. Because the projects, as Enis mentioned, when you start the project, it's something, but after the months, you find yourself almost opposite of a design or the budget or what else? Why? What do you think about? What is the difference in working in a mega projects than a smaller ones, with your experience?
Maybe starting a little bit with the history of Istanbul. For me, the first mega project, and still is one of the biggest and very important buildings, was the Hagia Sophia. So it's one space. So at this time it was very important for the world, Constantinople. And then the Ottomans came, 1400s, and then they want to make a bigger mosque. So it started like this. And then it was the Atatürk time. It was non-Turkish architects available, so he invited German, Swiss, Austrian architects to Ankara, to your city, and then they made the mega project for Ankara. And then I remember my father was one of the students of this German generation. He came back from Germany and he made the biggest mega project at this time. It was an opera house. At this time we had no towers, no city parts like this where we have all these residential projects, huge. And then I remember 80s when we had the Mayor Dalan time. So he started like in the 60s, like Menderes time. So it was also another part where they started to make new roads, new boulevards. So maybe it was the starting point. I think the boulevard, which is from the Bosphorus to the north, it was the starting point for the this new generation of mega projects. And we are now in the 21st century, and then Istanbul with this big population, 17 million, we can say 16.
Probably.
Yeah, it needs new residential projects, new office spaces, and as architects, then somehow you are somehow inside of this, like you said, the story. And I think this is a mirror of today. And then when you are a part as an architect, then you have to learn to deal with it.
Deal with what?
To deal with the big scale projects and with the big budgets, and then as architects you have to learn to spend the money of others.
And also,
so in that way we are able to design more than 20 million square meters construction area only by ourselves, PK Design Group, and every year more than 80-85 million square meter projects were approved by municipalities. That amount of constructing areas is, we are talking about 80 to $100 billion assets already running through. So it's a big demand for investors. Also, we are seeing a lot of foreign investors looking for opportunities in Turkey. When we are talking about the architects and owner, of course we have to talk about the another side, municipalities and governments. So codes and rules and laws has to be reduced to take more investors. And investors, when they came, and they came with the new ideas as well, and global ideas as well too. Whatever we transfer our ideas around the world as well too. Most of the urban regeneration projects started with not maybe so right. But when we are coming last 3, 4 years, 5 years, we are seeing a better projects and better samples. It affects a lot that people and cities getting back their areas they already lost last 20, 30 years. So this is a big chance for us and for people to get these public areas back and to be livable cities in Turkey. In the meantime, we have to understand Istanbul, especially most of the international eyes look Istanbul as one end to another end, 154 kilometers, which is already 6 circle is finished already. We are not able to add another one. It's going to be so big, so it's hard to be lived. So we have to concentrate in the center of the city, bring our issues and infrastructure regeneration areas. So we have to redesign it and also to give the right backs to the owners already live there. So this is the mega project, I believe, in Turkey, urban regeneration projects, and we are very happy to be part of it.
Yes, Murat, one thing you mentioned is it's very interesting because Ali Ağaoğlu, I don't know, I'm sure all Turkish people know his name. He's one of the most famous investor in Turkey, and he gave a press conference last weekend or 2 weeks ago, and he said that we are, as an investor, it's very hard for us to make business in Turkey because it's like a football game, and we start the game, and in the middle of the game, the rules are changing. It might be positive, but it might be negative also. Is it easy for an investor in these circumstances to work or invest in Turkey?
This is actually, it's hard to control the cost of the project. It starts with something and it starts something else. Because life is so fast in Turkey, and demands or needs are changing very fastly. So you have to follow it. Most of the codes, new codes, always to be good for everyone. But all the time you have to make this alert to make any revision on the projects and also investments figures. But when you look at this, what's happening in Turkey, people are coming from Africa, Russia, some part of the Asia. Take a look at this urban regeneration projects, and they take them like experience and samples in their countries as well too. I did more than 3 million square meter land in Africa. I did another project too, urban regeneration project in Russia. But the sample of what's going on in Istanbul. And then when you look, I went to do Aruja, Africa, National House Corporation. This is their Turkey. I went there to have a meeting. First, they introduced me with the president of National House Corporation. There is a owl booklet on his table. So they were looking and they were, you know, questioning what they did in Turkey. And just a coincidence you mentioned, actually.
Maybe if they did in Turkey, they can do everything.
We don't know.
Let's take some questions if you don't want to add something. Any questions? Yes? If you talk on the microphone, that would be good for the translation.
Good afternoon. I visited Istanbul a few times. How do you architects that build and with the promoters and the investors deal with the infrastructure? Because now you can't move from one building to the other. How does this develop in parallel? What kind of actions you take in front of the municipalities?
Murat Tabanlıoğlu. You're responsible.
Half of
You're one of the responsible of this situation, maybe, that big boulevard with the successful buildings.
Of course, if we are looking the last, let's say 10 years of Istanbul, we have the new tunnel for the train. Then the new train, the other tunnel for the cars are coming also very soon. Then we have the third bridge, and then the subway is extending. So it was always a problem. Maybe you know maybe in the Ottoman, it was I think Ottoman time. It was the second or first tunnel in Europe, the smallest tunnel, which is from to Galata, but then many years it was not possible to make a metro system in Istanbul because it was very difficult, because it's very hilly. Then we have always the historical buildings, and it's not very easy to make in a city of Istanbul a good traffic system and good infrastructure. And then we had the earthquake in 1999, and that was another problem. So as Murat said, we had to change all the rules. So all the structural systems changed, and we had to reinforce all the old buildings, not all of them, but the main buildings. And but I think the future is more, I think, on the water. I see we have to use the water more, and then to learn to get out our cars.
Yes.
For example, I have a small electrical car, so everybody was laughing to me. So it's we need smaller cars, less cars, and then we have to learn to use public transportation. So this is a problem in Turkey. Generally, people want to move with their cars. They want to show their cars, so they want to go to the restaurant, to the cars. I think we have the most valet parking in the world in Istanbul. Yes. It's a big business. So I think the car is a big problem. It creates a big traffic. And the other problem is many people living in the Asian part, and they are moving every day to the European part and to make business. And then in the nights, also many people for nightlife, they are coming to the European part and going back. So maybe the third bridge will be a new solution. But as we know, new bridges are creating other problems. So we have the green area, and then we will have less green area. So
okay, Murat is right. I used to live in Asia side, and my work is at the European side, and every day I spend nearly 3 hours on the traffic, 1 hour and 30 minutes to go to my job, and while we are returning, we are seeing the same traffic. And if there is a snow, I know that some days I stay in a hotel instead of spending 4 hours in the traffic. It's a big problem. Başka? Burada. Yes. There is one more question. Yes, sir? Okay. After then...
Sorry.
Please.
You talked about overruns, cost overruns, time overruns of projects, especially mega projects. What we see currently happening at EU level is recommendation to all the member states to think about the processes, how to design and build buildings and mega projects with kind of processes like building information modeling. We see this also, you mentioned Germany. The German government is initiating an initiative called First Build Digital and Then Build Physical, like we do it in the manufacturing industry since years. So I think there's a revolution coming, and I think I would be interested in what do you think about this in general, and is this also a trend in Turkey?
Enis, maybe.
Thank you. BIM modeling is quite new for Turkish architects, I can able to say. Unfortunately, there is no regulation related with BIM modeling in Turkey required to make any projects. We face that problem when we are doing project in Dubai, because you need to make projects with BIM modeling to get an approval in Dubai to show certain safety factors in terms of sustainability. When it comes to Turkey, in mega projects also, as there is no time and no right client brief is on the table, it is very difficult to make these projects as you mentioned before. The Turkish architects and Turkish contractors are famous because they are fast and because they are also flexible. So, as I mentioned, another example, just half an hour ago, we are flexible to add 20,000 square meters to an existing building which is on construction. The end result, did I get satisfied? No. Did the client get satisfied? No. The municipality? No. But at the end, this is due to the land costs in Turkey and especially in Istanbul. After Turkey becomes the main player in urban redevelopment, they give very high FAR numbers to various sites, so the land values are doubled immediately. Due to this fact, every investor in Istanbul under a big pressure to maximize their land. There is no way to go out. And this maximization stress is over architects more and more. And after us, it becomes over municipalities.
It's, I think, one of the other dilemma for Turkish investment in buildings or this kind of mega projects. These projects are mega, very big, but everybody is trying to do it very fast. They don't have any time. Would you like to add something?
About this BIM model, we finished now in the last 3 years 2 big projects, 2 mega projects with BIM modeling. One is in Turkey. It's a bank headquarter in the, and then the other one is in Qatar. And then now we are working in another project with Enis Öncüoğlu together, also with Revit and BIM model, everything 3-dimensional. And I hope now they will be tenders so that the construction firms are able to work on this further. Because as architects or engineers we can make it, but I hope they are also able to follow this, because otherwise it will stay in the computers.
Last question. I think our time is finished. But yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Do you name me? Okay. There's a common thread that runs through mega projects, actually. They're driven usually by entrepreneurs who have mega egos, who hire architects who, as we all know, have mega egos. And the thing that's missing is research. Most of these large developments worldwide suffer from no initial research, okay? Research should be driving the design. It's often very difficult for someone to tell an owner you're building too much. But in most cases, you look at most of these projects worldwide, they're building too much space. Maybe the second owner makes a profit of it, but the first guy never does. So I think that research is the missing ingredient.
Okay, let's ask as a question this, Abdi, why do the research is missing, and who is going to say that this is enough, this is mega enough, you can make it smaller instead of...
Yeah, actually there are two different mega projects. One of them is scale-wise, the other one is impact-wise. It is both needs research. The second one needs more research, and it's not clear. But the reason behind that very true statement is that there is an immense pressure and demand on growing economies and in cities which are taking immense immigration, like Istanbul, for example. So there's a belief that whatever you do will sometimes sell and get profit, independent from its quality, independent from its square meter, independent from its lifestyle. So let's do it. Let's build it. Then we will think what to do. And it is possible to change it on the way, for example, adding some square meters, or it is possible to change the whole design process, etc., etc. And it is impossible to add this either research or BIM as a kind of an integrated part of the project, because, I mean, it doesn't have legal and legislative ground. You know, the bits, the governmental projects issues, for example, I mean, there are limitations of budgets independent from the project. So, I mean, we know, for example, if we are going to build a train station, how many Turkish liras will it cost in terms of square meters? So there's an average calculation for it, independent from the project. So we assume that it will be like that, but it never happens. And that research should be not only project-wise, but also in context-wise, including a lot of givens and inputs and impacts on the project, including, for example, the immigration, economy, distribution of income, social issues, identity issues, I mean, many things at a time. Social issues and the preservation of the history, the city identity, the touristic demand, etc., etc. So it's an integrated thing that has to be considered. But I mean, when the project always sells, it is very difficult to do that. It is directly related with the market economy.
Okay.
The logic of capitalism.
Last few sentences. It's very hard for me to understand this kind of business model. You start something as a mega project and you don't know the budget and you don't know what are you going to do. But is it always working in a good way?
I remember something.
What type of business model is this?
The story about the pyramid I showed you. We went many years ago with a Turkish contractor firm to Nazarbayev, Kazakhstan president. He said to the Turkish construction firm owner, I need two different projects from two different architects, and it should be the biggest pyramid in the world. And then we searched, and then we said it should be then 250 meters. So I didn't know that also Norman Foster was invited, so they put us in the same plane, and then we went to Nazarbayev, and then he looked to the project. Norman Foster made 5 different, we made just 1, and then he asked the construction firm owner how much it will cost. We didn't know, but he said $250 million. Then he looked to him and said, make it 69 meters and for $69 million.
I just mentioned some square meters when I'm talking, and branded projects every year, 85 million square meter, looking for a right from the municipality. So it is so big amount and demand, especially. I've seen more than 20 municipalities in this MIPIM. Thanks, they are coming here, and I beg them, we all beg them, I believe that they started to make complexity easier. They said that schematic design stage improvement was right now on it. You don't have to go all the way to the construction drawing set is done. But when you look at the schematic design stage, they are asking some knowledge. You have to only give them in the construction stage. So we have to reduce limit of details when you are going to the schematic design stage. So for this reason, everybody is looking for a right to start a building. They are so fast. Schematic design stage is going so fast, and they like to start the construction. So in that hurry, in that rush, sometimes things missing. Some new research and new knowledge is coming afterwards.
Yes.
So project is changing.
I would like to give one more example about this hurry and this fast. You know, they made an Istanbul tunnel. It's going through downstairs of the Bosphorus. And I made an interview with the engineers, Turkish engineers and the Japanese engineers. And I learned that they write on a paper one night. The Turkish municipality responsible engineer wrote there that if we are not going to finish this tunnel in 2 months, we are going to kill ourselves. And you know, the Japanese engineer were surprised, but we need 6 months. No, we will finish in 2 months. Let's say 3 months. And they finish in 4 months. And they're still living. Thank you very much for joining us today.